Welcome to the Make Sense with drjcdoornick podcast. This podcast covers topics that expand human consciousness and performance. On the Make Sense podcast, we acknowledge that it's who you are that determines how well what you do works, and that perception is a subjective and acquired taste. What we know is that when you change the way you look at things, the things that you look at begin to change. Welcome to the uprising of the sleepwalking masses. Welcome to the Make Sense with Dr. J.C. Doornick podcast.
Makes sense.
Great morning, world! Welcome to the Rise Up with Dragon podcast with your host, Dragon!
Great morning, world. All right, folks. Ready, set, grow. This is Impossibility. Here's a few dragon thoughts to get us warmed up. So, I've been really interested in fact, I'm always interested in this, and the whole concept of my interface response system is to kind of curiously question things. So I've been really interested in taking a different vantage point and just looking at the other side of many things, including something that we're all afraid of, and that is the receding polar ice caps due to global warming. So just curiously looking at that and saying, is that a bad thing only, or is there a potential that this universe is making that happen for a reason? And it also made me think this morning of this idea of like, we're so afraid of extinction, yet if we look back at history, and history has brought us today to where we're at. So if you're in love with anything about your life today, and that's prompting your concern and worry about extinction has happened several times. So understand that extinction might be necessary for the evolution of life. So it's an interesting thought. I know that you probably didn't want to hear that, but it makes me want to enjoy my life more today. So anyway, with regards to the polar ice caps, I understand that there's a downside. However, I'm curious to look at what the value might be that it brings. So I was watching this really cool video, and I'll show it to you. I'll put the link in the notes from this amazing YouTube channel called After School spelled SKOOL, and they're whiteboard animations of some really powerful messages. And I was watching one in particular that unveiled the potential of new findings that may become unveiled. This is really cool. This is about like evolution and where we come from. New findings that are becoming potentially unveiled via satellite as global warming exposes new topography, meaning we couldn't see it until global warming started to melt away the polar ice caps. We're starting to see new topography underneath the polar ice caps that may show us new proof of ancient civilizations that we didn't know about. Ancient meaning beyond what we thought were the first forms of, right now we think that humans came from Africa, but we're starting to see that there's more ancient civilizations, and we're seeing proof of that. And it basically has the potential of rewriting history, right? Now, I think we're all afraid of rewriting history, because if we rewrite history, that means that everything that we're using, including like all of our concepts and philosophies of reality and religion and all of that stuff, we might wake up one day soon and realize that that's all been made up. What are you going to do if that's your foundation, right? So this highlights to me how basic it is that and how small our education is that we learn in school, and how we're moving about our lives assuming that we know where we come from and use all of that, what we claim to know, right, to understand our reality. So are you prepared to accept the fact that everything that you know may be false, and accept that we've basically made it all up in an attempt to make sense of the unknown? I'm fascinated with the unknown, my friends, right? That's what I know to be true is that there is unknown, and I'm okay with it, right? And when I sat with plant medicine, it gave me the ability to see a world that I didn't know about. And now that I've seen that world, I realize there must be other worlds out there. So this is a game changer. And the last thing I wrote in my warm up is, if you want a little more in your life, and I'm talking to you, then take a little more today, and you know what to do. You know how to leverage that. So this is impossibility. The concept of what is impossible is relative and can change over time. And I think we know that. For example, many things that were once considered impossible or beyond the realm of possibility, such as space travel or organ transplants, 3D printing, stem cell work, and all of that stuff, are now routinely accomplished. And what you and I now have, all of a sudden, we all gather now and say, oh, yeah, that's not only possible, that's normal. It's what we call our new normal. So you understand how we're constantly absorbing impossible into possible. So in general, something is considered impossible when it goes against the known laws of nature or violates established principles and theories. So how simple is it that we're basing everything that we think is possible or impossible based on science and theories and stuff? But what if all that's been made up, right? However, as our understanding of the world and the laws that govern it expand and evolve, what was previously considered impossible may become possible. And I think we can agree. So, for example, in the field of science and technology, which is man-made, new discoveries and innovations often extend the boundaries of what we thought was possible. So we're advancing in technology and we're gaining the ability to learn more about what we thought was possible and impossible, and it's changing those boundaries. So these advancements can lead to the development of new technologies, treatments, and approaches that were previously unimaginable. So how about that? We're advancing technology, and that advancement in technology is giving us the ability to advance technology even further. So what this is telling me is anything's possible. Ultimately, the question is of when something becomes possible, it's dependent on a variety of factors, including advancements in science and technology, changes in societal attitudes and beliefs, and the willingness to explore and challenge the boundaries of what we consider to be true. That's the biggest thing right here. Are you open and willing to challenge the boundaries of what it is that you think to be true? Now, if you're not, I understand. I've spent quite a bit of time in my life like that. But if you're not, you're staying safe. And I understand why you want to stay safe. But if you're curious and you're a seeker of the you want to be happier, healthier, and wealthier, that means that you have to look into the unknown, right? So what does this mean for you and I? If we grasp this concept that nothing is impossible and look at all things with what I like to consider maybes, throw that word into your vocabulary. Throw some maybes in there, or maybe even throw in there, wouldn't it be cools, right? That's becoming a possibility thinker. And when you become a possibility thinker, you can begin to explore the great potential of this thing called life, whatever that means. Make sense?
Makes sense.